we've been drinking beer, and we'll be drinking when you get here. Thinking, will I ever be sober? Hoping this will never be over. And I'm drinking beer, and I'll be drinking when you get here. We started drinking.
All right, well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us for another week of Beer and Bullshit. Tonight's a very special edition of Beer and Bullshit. Not only do Jason and I have our spouses here, we're quarantined. So it's a little bit of a special kind of podcast that we're having tonight. And I don't know, how are you guys doing over there in the computer?
Not bad. We're in the computer.
Yeah.
We're actually not even in the room.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know if you remember the animated TV show Reboot. We are essentially characters from that television show.
So, Jay, before we get started, and I think it'd probably be a good idea for us to introduce our lovely wives here tonight.
Yeah,
So
you go first.
You want me to go first? This
Sure.
this is my beautiful and lovely and understanding wife, Sophie, here. Say hi to the people, so.
Hi, people.
Well, like, I guess maybe the person who's listening.
The person? Yes.
Does that make more sense?
Hi, Jay and Paula.
Yeah.
How are you?
Exactly.
Not bad.
Hey,
I
so
think this is just for us. Oh,
Probably.
Wow.
Maybe Molly, I hear back there.
Yeah.
The cat's like, what the fuck are you doing? Jay, do you want to introduce us to your wife?
Yeah, just to let you know, we are experiencing a bit of a delay on the video here on our end, but don't worry about it. We'll keep going.
Okay.
We'll just go by audio.
Okay. No, that sounds good.
So here, my wife is the talented,
oh boy.
a chef in the bedroom and a whore in the kitchen, Paula Boissonneault.
I'm not hyphenated.
You're not
I just
hyphenated.
press
Paula
it now.
Boissonneault.
Yeah.
No,
Hello.
she's what would be the opposite of a progressive woman?
Submissive?
Submissive.
The opposite of progressive, yeah.
Submissive, yeah.
In the kitchen.
So
Boy.
how are you guys holding up under this isolation?
Oh, we're not bad. Luckily I get to work from home, so it hasn't been too bad. And since we just had we haven't had a podcast since, but we did have our child Mario, so we it makes it a little bit easier. So I didn't have to really take kind of parental leave, so I'm actually home helping out with that when I'm not teaching.
Nice.
So you were part
Yeah,
of the
and with
conspiracy.
having essentially a second parent in the house, I really only had to be a parent on my own for 2 months.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. Well, that's kind of nice, I guess. That
Yeah. Must be nice to have a pandemic during your mat leave.
There's an upside, at least.
Wasn't there a movie like that in the past that I think it was called Blast from the Past? It was with Brendan Fraser, how he was like born and his parents thought there was going to be a nuclear war, so they raised him in like a bunker. Do you remember that?
I'm pretty sure,
Oh
yes.
my God.
Yeah, it's like I know Pauly Shore wasn't in that movie, but I feel like
It
it
sounds
was.
like it would be.
It sounds like a Pauly Shore movie, like Encino Man or
I was
something.
just thinking when you said Brendan Fraser. I was like, he's in 2 movies like that. Encino Man's my favorite.
It's your favorite.
I don't
movie?
remember
Yeah.
Encino Man at all.
I
know I've
love
seen
it.
it.
He's so dirty and they give him a bath and he's like all disgusting.
Yes.
They find him when
I
they're
might have to rewatch
digging a
it.
pool in his yard.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole premise of the movie. How it
Yeah.
starts, like the guy is.
They're like in California and they're digging a pool.
Yeah, in his yard. Anyways, the Pauly Shore movies talk. That's what the podcast is going to be about tonight.
Yeah. we should only do Pauly Shore movies the entire episode.
No.
Beer and Bullshit's lost its edge in this uncertain time. No, we're holding it together too. We have a little more stringent requirements than you guys have because we were
Why so?
irresponsible people who traveled outside the country last week. Yeah, I know.
What?
I know. We're horrible.
This is news to me.
human beings.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was.
We're obeying very well though.
That's true. Yeah, our kids aren't even here with us, which is a little sad.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's very sad, but I don't think we have any right to complain because I think there's a lot of parents out there who would be very mad if we complained.
Yes.
If we complain, well, yeah, but I feel like you feel like it's gonna be a vacation until like I don't know, the first until it happens, right? Like you think like, oh, get some time off from the kids, and it's true that we probably have been being pretty productive, but it's not like, I don't know. It just feels like you go to bed at night and it's so fucking quiet, like in the house. Not that the
In a
kids are
bad
like
way.
screaming sleepers there, but just it's
No,
it's
they're
weird.
just screaming when they're awake.
That's right. I don't know. I find it weird.
No, it's
Yeah.
too quiet. I
It is.
can understand where you're coming from.
We had the vacation when we were gone, and we were looking forward to seeing them, but
Yeah.
that's okay. They'll be home soon.
Extended.
Yes, we have the best grandparents for our kids ever.
What's
right.
what is the rule that you were told like you had to have them? So you guys went out of country, you guys got back.
Mhm.
What was the process, and what is the rule? Like you're only allowed to see them after the full 14 days if no
I don't know if
symptoms
there
are
was
showing up.
actually a rule. Like, never have I heard them say, if you're coming in from the country, you must isolate without your kids. Like, not everybody that we were with chose to isolate without their kids. Some of them went to pick up their kids and
And some of them couldn't.
isolated with them, which I think is fine.
Mhm.
I think it was a personal choice. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Trudeau's going to call into the podcast and clarify
Yeah.
something. But
We should tap into our direct line to the Prime Minister.
Oh yeah.
Charlie can set that up, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course. You're getting all the NDP wish list is going through right now, anyways. So,
I know.
That's true.
but no, the process for coming back was I don't know. I think it's just kind of it shows just how uncertain everything is right now, and how it was even more uncertain last week. Like, how long do you guys think we're going to be sitting in our houses?
In our houses, I think I was gonna go say mid-April.
You think so?
Yeah.
That long?
Longer.
You think longer? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think what's gonna happen. I think they're gonna start like this. They're gonna relax some rules, and then they're gonna realize it's not it wasn't long enough, and I think it might be a mandatory 2 week from there.
oh yeah,
Yeah. I feel like so far they've been just getting more and more strict. Like they haven't it's only been going in one direction, right? And I think if anything, we're going to get to a point where they're just going to say, no, like right now we're in isolation, so we have to stay in the house for 14 days. But everybody else sort of gets to come and go, but they're saying do your social distancing, like stay 2 meters apart from people,
Yeah.
only go out if you have to. And if they find that people are just still going out more, or if they see that the numbers aren't really being affected by that, I think everybody's going to wind up like us.
Yeah.
Like eventually they're just going to be like, no, lockdown.
Lockdown.
Like how Italy was, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems kind of a weird situation. Didn't really think
Yeah.
we would get like this. Wasn't in the realm of possibility of things that I
No.
thought was gonna happen.
But like I was talking with one of Paula's cousins, and I kind of and I mentioned, I'm like, if the bloody Brits can withstand a few months of the Blitz, we can kind of stay in our houses and watch Netflix for
Of course.
2 or 3 weeks.
Of course.
So like we can figure it out. It's not the end of the world. It sucks, but if this is a sacrifice we have to make to try to make it better, fucking watch some Netflix, watch something.
Yeah, it's relatively it's easy, right? Like we should be
Mhm.
able to hunker down and do those things. I just think it seems like the way and I guess they can be excused for that, but the way it was rolled out, it just wasn't clear to everybody what they had to do, right? Like they're talking in really soft language, and it's not like stay the fuck in your house.
well, even with the soft language, the toilet paper crisis happened.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
Yeah.
they probably foresaw.
Well, we were kind of seeing it from
Craziness.
both ends, though. There were some people that were just like, "Yeah, fuck that," like I'm not obeying that. Like I'm leaving my house if I want to leave, and it's not that bad anyways. Whatever, right? Like you had those people, and then you had the people that heard that heard the word, like you got to stay in your house, and they went out and bought everything on the shelves, like there was a problem with the supply chain.
Yeah.
And none of those neither of those reactions is the appropriate one.
Yeah,
in
somewhere
my
between.
head, anyways.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess
Well, we
everybody's
were
still
looking
trying
for
to figure it
baby
out.
formula, and it took us forever to find baby
Oh,
formula.
yeah?
I
Serious.
just found baby formula. I started searching. I think it was the Saturday that we have. So the lockdown was a Thursday, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Like it was essentially everyone stay home.
Last week, yeah.
No, the week
The
before.
week forward, yeah, sorry.
And starting Saturday, I thought, okay, maybe I should get some more baby formula. And it was only yesterday that I was able to find some. That was the first time. So it's been 2 full weeks that there has been zero baby formula in the brand that we purchased.
Yeah, the one we use. But for some reason, all the other brands are always there.
Well, you know
Yeah.
you got the
But
right
brand-
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was completely sold out, and I had to essentially risk manage going into stores, specifically Walmart, which the social distancing was not being. People were. I would say it was almost like it was desperation shopping. People were just getting what they needed and didn't care who was in front of them. They just needed to get to the toilet paper aisle or the food aisle. And they didn't care who they had to run over to
Black
get
Friday,
to
but for toilet paper instead of
Yeah.
TVs.
Yeah.
it was terrifying a little bit. And honestly, there was a lot of people in there, but to see the amount of merchandisers in there restocking, I've never seen so many people pushing pallets of just goods. It was I've never
Wow.
seen so much
Which is good,
merchandise.
but-
Yeah. And it's funny because I find that it's kind of like, what is it? Self-fulfilled, right? It's people that think there's going to be a shortage, so they go buy a bunch of shit, and then there's a shortage. Like, it gets, I don't know. I don't know how you keep people calm. Like, I'm sure you know some people that, and especially today with all the stuff that's going around on Facebook and the internet, and it's real easy to to sort of feel like this is the government this is the new world order cracking down on us.
Those globalists just coming in, taking care of everything.
It's the elite, Jay.
Yeah.
The elite.
Is his eyes open? Oh. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, your baby's waking up.
Yeah. Yeah, his eyes are wide open.
Oh yeah. We'll see if he goes back.
It's, you know, like the night vision camera, like
Oh,
the
yeah.
eyes when they're
So
open, they're
creepy.
actually black. They're not even like everything else is white, but
Yeah.
the eyes are black. It's like, yeah.
Little
yeah.
ghost babies.
Yeah.
They're a little the creepy one is when he stands up, like when he stands up for the first time in his crib and he's looking right into the camera. You're gonna like wake up at night and see that. You'll be like, oh, my child's trying to murder me.
That seems terrifying. This is already scary enough. Never mind standing up and looking into the camera.
Hey, do you guys have the monitor that you can talk to him?
Yes.
No.
Where
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
like hit the
Yeah.
little
That
microphone
that
and you
bubble
can
at the
talk
top is you can speak to him.
Oh.
That gets funny when they grow up.
to him. We used that until our kids
Fede
were probably
Duani.
like 5 or 6.
No.
Hey, Uetsu!
Yeah.
Just an ominous voice
Yeah.
coming through.
And she was still sassing the ominous voice.
Yeah. No.
That one.
Yeah, so I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about?
Oh
I
god.
don't know.
We have-
I wonder if we should. I have a bunch of topics, but I wonder if we should save them for our guest coming up.
Don't waste them on us.
I don't know. Do I waste them now? Actually, you know what? I want to bring up. We'll talk about this. I'm not sure how. Actually, no. Probably shouldn't talk about that with Sophie there.
yeah, try another one.
What's the
When are
topic?
schools going to reopen? When are they going to lay off teachers?
Do you think not that laying off teachers or that, like I was going to ask a bit about essential services, but we'll skip that for now. But do you as a teacher, do you think like how much? I'm not sure how much you can say.
I
High
have no
schools
idea.
and elementary schools are gone for the rest of the year. Do you think that's that much? Like the kids are going to miss out that much, or do you think you can catch up enough next year on what they missed?
Well, it depends on which grade they're in. Like, I think Finn's going to be fine if he doesn't finish first grade. Like, he's going to start in second grade where he left off.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you were halfway through your second semester in grade 12 and you just started taking advanced calculus and you need that to take your university course, you might be a little bit behind. But then again, everybody in the country, everybody in the province is in the same situation. So
Yeah.
I feel like university profs, college profs are going to kind of take that in consideration next year if that's the way it's going.
Paula's gonna go take care of the child.
Yes, yes.
She's gonna
Like
be a
women
mother,
should do,
finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But like I thought about that too. You know, like the grade 12 kids going off to university and college. But like, I always thought like thinking about like how quote unquote intelligent or smart you are when you're in the 11th grade. The material you learn in your first year of university, you can learn that at the age of 15, 16. The material is not the issue. There's a maturity factor, yeah, but do you really think like they won't be able to pick it up when they go off to college or university afterwards?
Oh no, they'll be able to pick it up.
Yeah.
I feel like they're like to a certain extent though, the teachers won't be able to assume and say like, well, you've learned this, so I'm not taking this upon myself. They'll make up for it a little bit, but they're definitely, if they decide to close schools until the end of the year, especially in high school, they're definitely gonna ask teachers to supplement some material, and it's gonna be a lot of independent learning. I don't know what they're gonna do grade wise or test wise for that, but if you want to learn the material, your teachers will be there to give you what you need to learn it on your own.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a big gap on that front. And if anything, it's going to highlight like what's good or what's doable online and what's not doable online, you know. So
it'll test out this whole Doug Ford e-learning thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know just from my position, and I know we don't usually talk about our own jobs at all on the podcast. But I know my position,
you have a job?
I do most of my classes. I teach partially online. Like I teach to people in person and teach to people distance. And I personally think that there is an aspect that you're missing out on. You still get the information, depending, I think, on the professor or the teacher, instructor, whatever you want to call them. You can still get away with learning what you need to learn, and some of them are very good at doing it. But I do think there's something missing in that face-to-face aspect.
Sure.
And I know just personally, like, you can get it done at e-learning, but it's just you don't get this. It's not as rich.
No. And you're like, there's a whole social aspect to learning too, and being engaged in a subject and asking questions and listening to how people react, and there's a lot of like
a classroom dynamic, right?
Yeah. Or even like an assessing when you're like you're teaching in front of your class and you're saying something and you see your students like they go blank, or you see that they're what word did you say? Or then like right on, like they got it. You can tell that online when you don't see their faces.
No,
you can't tell.
Or just like the time of day, or I need to turn on a light right now because I'm losing them. But you can't do that online. Or like when they're practicing their own work, like you're walking around, you're kind of seeing like like just a second, that's not how you do that. But
well, I think if there's going to be some transition to online learning, we're gonna, and I don't necessarily know that that's a bad thing, but we're gonna be asking more of students, and that's kind of a different. It seems like it's a change in trend, because like over, I don't know, even when we were in high school, I feel like in general, like it was the teacher's job to make sure that you knew this stuff, right? Yeah. We didn't really know that. I feel like we didn't really understand just how much that like you could probably mess around and still pass. But I don't know, I sort of get the feeling like kids more or less have some awareness of that today, and it's like you know, teachers really do go above and beyond to make sure that kids are successful in their learning. And if you go into online learning, it's like, yeah, the material can still be delivered, but like you don't get a chance to do that kind of like checking back and that feedback.
And they do have,
and you need
like good online courses that are set up.
So certain courses maybe,
because certain kids can't go to school like on a regular basis, or like some kids are sick, or like adults coming back at different times in a semester, they can
Yeah.
take those courses. But I've worked in both, and it's definitely harder to be successful at an online course. You have to be much more disciplined and really be there because you want to be there.
Yeah.
And how many of those teenagers enrolled in high school because they really want to be there? I don't know.
I 100% agree, and I think also like you're saying, adult and students who want to be there, there is a maturity aspect to it.
Yeah.
If you're going to learn independently, I know myself in high school, I couldn't even do it in person, let alone do it. You know, so
In university, I couldn't do it. Like
whatever time then, yeah.
I didn't, as a young adult, I didn't have the maturity to be like, I feel like I passed I got through my university, but looking
you
back
took gym
on it,
class.
that's very true. I do have a bachelor's degree in gym, so
you know how to set up pylons for regulation size dodgeball court.
No, I don't think he does know how to do that.
I probably don't.
He forgot. He wasn't there that day.
I skipped that class. No, but just in general, like I didn't have the, like I look back on it and I go, man, I would have got a lot more, or I could have got a lot more out of my post-secondary education, in my high school for that matter, had I been more engaged. But you know, I don't know. Maybe it is a good idea to ask more out of the kids and like ask for more of their attention and more of their kind of participation in that. I don't. We'll see if it works.
I feel like we might have to see.
Yeah, I think we'll be forced to see.
Yeah, kind of, especially if everybody's staying in their homes, right? Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah,
we'll see. What are
so
your
Sophie?
Yes, dear.
I'm asking, or wondering, are you willing to do a solo podcast? You, Paula, and another female guest.
Putting me on the
just
spot,
ladies.
just like that.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I would love to hear. I'd listen to that.
I would.
Yeah.
I know
Oh, yeah?
Paula hasn't listened to me yet, but
Do we have to like come up with our own topics, or you're gonna
Yes.
tell us what you want us to talk about?
You
you
know.
talk
then
about what
just-
you are interested in, and you talk about what you feel like talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like
You guys could have a good
I feel like
podcast.
it could be fun.
We'll set you up. You
Yeah.
can even set up your own RSS feed and account and everything, and then we'll.
I have
have
no
it.
idea what an RSS
No.
feed is.
I can set you up on that, but you'll be good
But yeah, we can set it up.
I
we
feel
can
like it'd
press
be
record,
entertaining.
and we can walk out.
Yeah. Sure.
for sure. Yeah, when is this podcast going to take place? Because I feel like I would definitely want that to be.
And what happens if we get more views than you typically get?
You
How are you guys
probably
gonna
will.
feel?
Yeah, you will. 100% will.
Yeah. Like I think I wouldn't be jealous at all if you guys had a more successful podcast. Me and Jason could be producers of your podcast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's where the real money is.
the
That's right.
royalties and
Make dozens of
Yeah.
dollars.
Dozens of dollars. So, Jay, what do you make of the kind of conspiracy theory that's going around with this pandemic, and like not just the conspiracy theory, but like the idea that people think that this is the end times?
Well, I don't
You're a
disagree
biblical
that it's
scholar.
the end.
So.
I don't disagree that's in the end times. I believe that we will see. What's his name? Is it Michelangelo? No, Gabriel. Or who's the angel's going to come down and save us?
Okay,
At the end
can you
times,
stop
the
for a
battle?
second? Did you say
Michelangelo.
Michael? I
heard
thought
that
you were
too.
going to say Michael Landsberg.
Oh.
Like, is it Michael Landsberg that's going to come down from the heavens and save us all
Or
on
was it a
Judgment
turtle?
Day?
The turtle. No, I can't remember. Or is it? It's not Gabriel, or I'm not sure. Anyways,
I
I
don't
do
know.
believe it's the end times. No, it's shit's gonna. The Spanish flu happened. Guess what? That canceled the Stanley Cup Finals back
Exactly.
in 1919.
Exactly.
We've had shit sucks. It's not good, but we've gotten through that stuff.
And we're way more capable of getting through this now. Like,
Yes.
they didn't have intensive care medicine, and they didn't have like
Didn't have bleach.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about that. We're like, okay, first of all, the Spanish flu killed between 50 and 100 million people. Whoever is making those
That
estimates,
statistic, yeah.
that fucking margin of error
June.
50,000 people, margin of error.
50 million people.
50 million people, yeah.
Yeah.
It could be 0 or 50 million or 100 million if you're going the other
It's a very scary number. Let's just put it that way. Like,
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
they keep
We
saying.
shouldn't laugh. It's very serious.
Well, I feel like they keep saying that on the like either the news or you watch some like explained video and it's just like, oh, the Spanish flu in 1918 killed between 50 and 100 million people. Well, which one is it? Like,
Well, like, they didn't have Excel back then. What do you want them to do?
That's fair. That's fair. But I think it is different, though. Like, I'm sure there wasn't mass communication back then either about, like, okay, everybody, like, this is what we're all trying to do, so let's all mobilize as one. Didn't have, like, accelerated vaccine development. It's a much better time today for us to be going through something like this. And also, it's predictable, too, right? Like, we know that this is going to happen again. And it's probably, I don't know, given what most people seem to be feeling when they get sick from this, is that like it's not something that ends up being super severe for the majority of people, right? So at least
but you
not
don't want
that.
to discount the people that it is severe for.
No, of course. I'm not saying that in a sense that we should not be socially distancing because of that. No, we're locked in our house and we're
taking it seriously.
Exactly. It's more it's not a reason to panic. Like nobody should be like, if you're in your house and you're doing everything you can to minimize your interactions with other people, like that should be the end of your anxiety. You know?
Well, that's yours because you get to work from home and
good point.
Like,
yeah.
Nobody's going anywhere, but if I was a nurse, you might feel differently.
True.
Yeah.
Or if it wasn't the disease that was affecting you and it was your job, like your hours got cut back or like you lost your job, right? And now you can't make your mortgage payments or you can't put food on the table, which I think, as far as like our government's reaction to that, I don't know. I think if I am to be so bold, and if anybody wants to doubt how I feel about Justin Trudeau, you can like go back and listen to some old Beer and Bullshit podcast. But I think they've done a good job. Like they're pushing forward initiatives that are actually going to help, or at least like we don't know how they've been rolled out.
It's for sure going to help as long as they're sustainable. But yes.
Yeah, it's not something that they can do for years and years and years, right? But it's definitely something that'll see people through the hard times. Like, I think there has been some changes, though, right? Like, the programs that were initially rolled out, some of them were sort of retooled.
Yes.
Like, am I mistaken in saying the 75% payroll, like that's their
subsidy was supposed to be 10% originally.
Okay, so what they're hoping to do is that instead of people being laid off, that employers are going to keep people on and at 75, and they'll subsidize
their
their wage.
10% to 75%.
Yeah, originally it was going to be a 10% subsidy. That was the original thing by the Liberals, and then the NDP said no, 75, and they're like, okay, and they just took it like, sure, if you want to agree, we'll go for it.
We don't want to piss anyone off.
Our one friend wouldn't mind to jump on now, Corey.
Oh, Andrew?
Yes.
Okay.
I can attempt to do this.
If you can get him on the screen, that'd be great.
Do that again. So what were we talking about last? I can't remember now.
I don't remember anymore. Probably something about
you guys were just talking about the subsidy, the business subsidies at 10 to 75%.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So what I think is interesting, and there's another thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about the essential services stuff. But the one thing I think is interesting is like, if you go talk to some conservative or something, fuck the poor man. No socialism, blah, blah, blah. But corporate socialism and business socialism, 100% on board. Yeah. Let's give money to, and like I 100%, I want local businesses like Dombrowski's, Full Beard, Compass, all these guys to stay above water. I want them to be helped out. But like, it's funny how you don't hear anything from these, who was running for the PCs just last or whatever. You don't hear anything about them saying, no, we shouldn't be doing that. But now it's completely okay. It's
That's yeah. I mean, that's a tough one. I guess we're not living in. I guess everybody's getting a sense of what the poor feel all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's. I guess I don't know. Maybe out of this, people are gonna. And it's not to say that. In normal times that socialism is the answer, right? It's just I hope what it does is it provides people with more perspective on everybody's gonna have a little bit more compassion, a little more empathy at the end of all this, right? I hope so. Anyways, I hope it just doesn't go back to the way it was, because things were good, right? Went for quite a while. And I don't know, like the market's plunged worse than, or I think they were saying like the initial kind of dip in the markets, anyways, was worse than like the Great Depression, at the beginning of the Great Depression, anyways. So we've never really even been here before. So
yeah, and how we've had the same mechanisms in place that we could use now that we didn't have then. Like, did we have the same levers to market? It is a global economy, but did we have the ability to slow things down instantaneously back then than we do now? We could shut down essentially all supply chain stuff with one click of a button or one call.
yeah.
So is that why we're not as bad as we were? But
we're not as bad as we were.
Or maybe we're not feeling it like they did in the Great Depression. Like, also we're only 2 weeks in, so is it as?
Yeah, I don't know.
And also, does it show that the market really doesn't mean shit?
It doesn't mean shit. What do you mean?
Like, yeah, the market goes down. How much does that really affect regular Joe Blow?
Well, I think it affects people who are people who have a lot of their money tied up in the market, and especially when they rely on it, right? So people who are recently retired. Oh, yeah, I'm getting our voices coming back. So if you want to turn the volume down on your speakers, maybe.
Better?
Just a little bit. Yeah, okay, that's better. But yeah, basically, I think it's for people who've recently retired who need that income. They need to withdraw that money from the market, and they could potentially be facing like big losses, right? And so
I know just on my own personal stuff, pretty decent losses.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you got a lot of money in the market, Jay?
Not a ton of money, but even the
super
money
rich?
that you do have,
Just a few shekels, and that's it.
But if you leave it, it should come back, is what they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe, what you're alluding to as well, like the fact that we can shut the market down with one click or one call is somewhat reflective of how fast the recovery will be too. Like, I don't know, we have no idea, and there's probably way smarter people than us that are thinking about this kind of stuff. What's that?
Figuring it out, smart people in charge, but like
Trump.
When shit was, pardon?
Like Trump.
Yeah, exactly. But we're still having issues with our friend here.
We're having issues. Always having issues, eh?
This is the bullshit.
This is the story.
Podcast.
This is the story of the Beer and Bullshit podcast.
But regardless,
That's on him this time.
I do want to talk about one thing before we move on.
Oh, one thing.
Today, I'm drinking Full Beard Beer Prospector.
Well, would you look at that? Look what we're drinking. Full Beard Lion's Mane. And also...
What a coincidence that they're the only company delivering in Timmins right now.
What? How dare you?
Yeah, they're...
I'm sure I have a light somewhere.
I have waited longer for pizza delivery than I have for this beer delivery. It was amazing.
It took 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It was at our doorstep, distancing, dropping it off 2 meters away from the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like a pro.
Like he's done this before.
Oh man, no, it was. I've been very impressed with our local businesses. Have been amazing
stepped up
in
big
like
time.
getting people the stuff they need. It's I don't know. I haven't been to a grocery store yet, so I don't know what that experience is like. But from what I hear, it's just been crazy.
Well, I haven't been either, but I spoke to the girl from Independent on the phone, and like they must be just exasperated too. Like these huge orders coming in, like
it's a
way
week
more
out.
than they're used to.
Yeah, if you order, you have to wait a week to get your stuff at Independent. Then Mr. Durpo, Dabrowski's, like we ordered meat and vegetables from him.
I know.
Yeah, same here.
Split.
It was
Next
great.
day. Yeah.
No, they're really, really stepping up, especially the small businesses, to sort of fill those gaps for people to get things like in the short term, and then when people need to get like their packaged food or whatever, like they place their orders with the larger grocery stores. But just like you say, the girl that was talking to you on the phone today, like I would expect that the amount of shopping that these people have to do on a daily basis, like going through the store and filling up carts and just like calling people and all that, it must be insane, and like no stopping. And this girl was so pleasant on the
so
phone.
Nice, yeah.
Like,
well, we don't
so
have any of this,
understanding.
but we have this. We don't have your.
Yeah.
And she replaced it really well. And like I don't like shopping for other people either. Like sorry, Corey, I got you the wrong pepperettes, and gets all upset. So I'm sure like this girl that has no idea
That's
who I am is like, I don't know if she wants the pulp orange juice or if the no pulp is out. And
like, do I know the difference between vegetable oil and canola oil? I don't know exactly.
Absolutely not.
I'm sure people who have some allergies might, but I don't give a shit.
See, that's exactly what I told Soph. I said, if I was doing this shopping, the girl was basically telling us like, oh, we don't have this, but we have this one here. We don't have the one you ordered, but you have this, and we'll substitute it, and you can like put this in. I would be the guy going through the aisle and just going like, oh, we don't have that. Yeah, okay, we didn't have it, didn't have it, and like you would get a third of your order.
No, they're being awesome.
I got nothing but respect for those people.
We ended up with sidekicks, which we haven't eaten since university, so I'm really excited about trying that.
Pizza pockets.
Pizza pockets? Yeah. Nice. Like
to be fair, I get those pretty often.
Like, okay, but pizza, like Pillsbury pizza pops?
So there's pizza pops or pizza pockets.
That's right.
Pocket. Sorry. So we're getting pops. Sorry, pops. Because pops, I would argue, are more in the shape of a pocket. They're more like a half moon. Yeah. To me, it looks more like a pocket, where the pizza pockets are a circle.
That's right.
So we have the pops.
You don't remember? Baked. Not fried.
Yeah.
Baked. Fried.
When we used to have cable.
That's
I
right.
loved commercials.
Yes. I like pizza pockets were made by what, McCain?
I don't remember.
I think so. I think it's McCain, and pizza pops are Pillsbury.
Okay.
Yeah, and the dough was like flaky. The
sure. You would know your pizza pops.
Oh fuck yeah! I ate a lot of that stuff when I was,
when
I was in high school. That's like all I would eat.
I one time bought bagel bites, and he was like ecstatic.
Remember bagel bites?
Or mini. Ever have like little mini pizza, like little mini taco bites or pizza
They're
bites,
like tater or tots or something, like pizza somethings.
Shit.
There was like
Zappums.
Yes.
Zappums.
Mwah, mwah. That is quarantine food.
Oh,
yes. Yes. All the stuff that they would advertise on YTV.
But back to the community thing. Not only the food has stepped up, but I feel like a lot of like businesses. I heard today that Discover Fitness was renting out their spin bikes and hosting like in-home spin classes. Like Sylvie Lamotte was doing some of her tribe activities, like quarantine friendly. I feel like it's just been awesome. Bodhi Tree was doing yoga, like online yoga. Yeah.
Oh.
Beer and Bullshit is broadcasting.
Exactly. All the essentials are coming at you.
God, it's just like everything you believe. No, and I think that, you know what? Honestly, I feel like that's been the hardest part about the lockdown. Is I feel like everybody's sort of pulling their weight, and I sort of feel like useless sitting in the house like, oh man, like I feel like I should be going to get somebody's groceries or like,
because we feel good, we feel healthy and capable of helping. But today I felt like that retired person who's chipping away at her driveway while the sun's out and
Yeah.
something that the sun's gonna do on its own anyways. But I'm like, okay, let's go try this.
Like, you guys are being extra, like, cautious because you guys know you came from out of country,
right.
blah, blah, blah. So, like, you guys are doing above and beyond, I'm sure. Or you're just doing your part.
Yeah.
Paul and I, really, I'm just afraid to bring it back to my kid, really.
Yeah.
So I just don't want to exasperate anything and have more, me catching it to give to somebody else. So we're staying home. We could probably, there's quote unquote less of a chance because we might not. We have a less of a chance of having it than you do. Technically, maybe I don't know. You guys
That's
are
what they say. We felt pretty safe, but you never know.
Yeah. But you know what's the smart investment? We're talking about the street.
Yep.
Smart investment is ordering new Beer Bullshit hats, Rain Teaser T-shirts weeks before a Put Your Ride lockdown.
Very smart.
But they're going to be vintage by the time they come out for the first time, so this might be a good thing.
Exactly.
You're gonna stop doing laundry, and that's all you're gonna wear this entire
I
time.
have just a different color every time.
Oh, there's different colors.
Oh, there's different colors.
That's exciting.
Oh, yeah, I got black for the hats. I just did the two different dark ones. I didn't get the bright green or gold.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't
you
get the gold ones
You
this
didn't
time.
get the yellow and black.
I gave the other one I had. I gave it away. But the shirts I got, I think gray, black, blue, and red. Maybe I'm not sure. Anyways,
The shirts that you got were
Yes.
gray, black, and red.
Okay. I didn't know if I
But
had
there's
blue or
got
not.
to
But
be
yeah.
a way for you to join this quarantine thing and do your green teaser online.
I was actually thinking about doing green teasers. I was just thinking about that today.
Well,
I feel like
You
you
know,
can
I
use
was thinking-
cahoots.
I don't know if that
Oops.
works.
No.
That'd be something. I think
Maybe.
you do like a 40-person, a big Zoom call or Skype call. Just go for it.
No, you need to think this through because there's going to be... Clearly, I've watched you guys set this up for 45 minutes before we actually got online. So you don't want that to happen. If you want to sell some t-shirts, you got to get your shit together.
That's right.
We didn't have enough of a test period. That's
Oh,
all.
yes.
Corey, I turned your mic up a bit. Sophie's much clearer and louder than you are, and you're much closer.
Wow, that never happens. I'm so excited.
Is that better?
I know.
Paula, you like this? You can hear me
I
well?
love I can hear you perfect.
Is that
Good.
better, Jay?
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. And actually, the recording on this, the video, is actually much faster and nowhere near as delayed.
So this whole podcast with your wives is just a whole troubleshoot for the real stuff.
That's
Yep.
exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now you have it right. You get the real guests
I-
on.
That's still
Have you
not.
watched any of the late night talk shows? They're all just bad YouTube videos right now.
Oh, yeah?
Bad YouTube videos.
Yeah, they're just recording online and like the late night show and or called the social distancing Tonight Show.
Yeah.
Mm,
Oh, like Stephen Colbert and all that. Like,
Yeah. And your mic
okay.
sucks right now, Corey. Big time.
Okay, well, let me switch out and I'll get a different one.
So,
so,
Matt and McGee, let's ask you a question here.
sure.
I want to ask you a question. Let me pull up my my iPad of questions.
Oh, that looks professional.
Very much so. All right. Have you noticed like you hear responses and you see the videos from the Prime Minister, from the
Mhm.
Premier.
Yes.
Have you
I
heard
know
or
those two
have
people,
watched,
actually. I know who you're talking about.
have
so
you
we're good.
heard, watched, or heard anything from the municipality?
No. I hadn't actually thought about that until you asked the question, but I haven't seen George Peary's face come out of anywhere and address anyone about anything now that you mention it, or...
But that's not really true. That's not fully true.
Well, it actually is true that I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he has, but I...
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you
Have
for the
you seen it?
interruption, but I
Sorry.
think the
Yeah,
question was
Thanks
posed
there,
to me.
mansplaining there, Mr. McGee.
Sorry.
Chauvinistic.
Was
pig.
there one, Corey? You've seen it?
Yes, he actually did say, and there was a quote in, like, I think he did a press conference, and there was a quote in the paper, like an article saying, the next few weeks will be much easier if we all do what we have to do. That was the quote from George Peary.
Okay.
Steve Black, on the other hand, has been extremely active online.
Yeah.
He's,
Yes.
Some part of me feels like he's very worried
It's-
about that.
I also haven't seen anything from Steve Black, so I feel like it depends what you follow, and if
Yeah.
I'm the uninformed constituent, then maybe I haven't seen anything.
We should have a special uninformed citizen,
Oh
segment.
yes, maybe I can lead that one. Paula and I.
Paula can talk about
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, because I don't follow anything.
I know.
But somehow we know that we were supposed to stay in our house, and we know what's going on. So I still feel like
Yeah.
the news is getting through.
Well, the important stuff for sure. Like, I'm not saying that the stuff we know about is important at all. I don't think it.
But Jay, were you asking that question because you feel like there should have been more, or like why?
Well,
what was the
I
segue?
personally believe that I haven't heard a whole lot from our mayor.
No, but like, do you think
And-
that he would have anything new to say?
And that's the thing too. It's like, and I'm kind of saying this to a degree because I saw our former mayor's a post about it,
Mm-hmm.
And what's he saying? I
and-
haven't seen it.
and really then I thought about it. I'm like, does it really matter? Like,
But
how much are we really getting from him? Like, and actually, our guest I'm trying to get on right now, he mentioned that the mayor doesn't really get to decide much about essential services or anything else. So what can they say or do?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but also what other mayors have been really huge participants in
Yeah,
in kind of the communications. It's all been health units, provincial and federal
Yeah.
communications. It hasn't been
Mhm.
municipal whatsoever. Even in greater areas, has the Toronto mayor or Ottawa or Vancouver, I haven't heard anything from those mayors.
No, but
It's
there
all been-
must be some municipal decisions that can be made. Like I got an email from our school board saying they were closing all playgrounds that were on school board properties. Like, have they closed the parks, the city parks? I don't know.
Yeah.
they did close and took out all the ice from the rinks.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think there is a role to play though for mayors and especially the mayor, and that's making sure if you're right that there's no decisions that can be made on that front, or at least as far as we know, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? Pass a bylaw and get Timmins police to keep people in their homes? Maybe obviously I did see something that the Timmins police are patrolling certain areas to make sure that people are keeping their distance and
They're
That's
only
not too
checking
busy.
out Upper Melrose and make sure that they're okay. Us poor Melrose people, no policing
Or arrested.
or arrested. Yeah, we're just arrested
We're
for
just
outside.
arrested.
You guys, police service.
They want to
Yeah.
make sure. They want to make sure that the lower Melrose doesn't climb up to the upper Melrose, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Us swamp dwellers don't come up there and ruin you for a stench.
Hey,
Yeah.
you said it, not me.
But there could still be, like, Paula and I, before we got online, we're talking about if our soccer season's going to go, and some of these games are on city-owned
Yep.
property,
Yeah.
and we're still up in the air, but maybe they have some kind of press conference, or not I don't know how they would announce this, but maybe they know that, okay, these parks or these facilities are going to be closed until said date, and then we could work around that. Maybe they don't know, but it's always nice. We've signed up for some races that have at least sent an email saying we are unsure if we're going to cancel this or not, but we are still we're going to keep you posted. We haven't forgotten about you, and we're not in the dark.
Yeah, and I think even at the very least having a voice, this person's supposed to be leading the city, right? And having somebody just come out and be like, you know what, sort of speaking to the state of the city right now. Everybody seems to be respecting this social distancing thing, and even just having someone periodically come out and say you know what, our city's doing a really good job right now of doing this. We really want to we need to really keep it up. We need just that kind of unifying voice, right? Because that's what's gonna, if this is something that we need to do for a much longer time, then we're gonna have to do this. You're gonna have to have everybody on the same page about it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Would we want to hear it? That's more or less what we've been hearing from the Prime Minister throughout this entire time.
Would we
right?
want to hear, or are we going to be more of okay, we get it, stop?
Yeah, or even is it an opportunity for mixed messaging, right? One guy says something off the cuff, people take it a certain way or has a certain tone. Is it? I don't know what the right answer is to that, but some part of me feels like I would want to hear from the mayor. Maybe not every day like you hear from the prime minister, but maybe like I don't know. I've appreciated hearing from Trudeau. I read I was reading McLean's article the other day that was basically saying, no, it was the Globe and Mail. That was saying the guy comes out, he speaks in a measured tone every day, provides updates, reinforces the important points, and they were calling it his finest hour.
I saw someone compare him to Mr. Rogers. That was funny.
Yeah, like and I mean for all his faults and for all the stuff that the people don't like the Liberals for, like, this to me has been a good thing, having him come out every day, more or less the same time, giving the updates, giving like, this is what we're doing, this is what our priority is, this. It's been very consistent, and and also the lack of bickering between the parties. Like, no one seems to be politicizing this, which is great. I love the first
bit of I believe O'Toole, was it O'Toole, the one who's gunning for,
is it McKay? No, O'Toole wanted it delayed.
I don't want to delay, but he already posted some like sponsored ads about like how there's a grab for power, and they're trying to take all this 3 years of whatever, and that got taken off. Like, they proposed it got taken off the thing right away, the 2-year measure or a timeline got taken off right away. But it's like, that was the only time I saw any political kind of squabble about it. Next to that, there was nothing, and everyone's like, let's go. The 10% subsidy got brought up. The NDP said no, we want 75%, and there was like, let's go for it. Yeah, sure.
Like,
okay.
even from the provincial level, like hearing from Doug Ford frequently and seeing that there's cooperation between like the PCs in Ontario and the Liberals at the federal level, like that's got to me, that just strikes even like a reassuring tone, right? Like you sort of feel like, okay, you know what? We all have our different views on how to do things, but we all acknowledge that this is a serious situation that we got to do something about, right? Yeah. And even to hear Doug Ford say the words, the federal government has been doing a great job at this, like, that's huge. Doug Ford would have never praised Justin Trudeau.
Never.
So, like,
not one mention of a gas tax yet, or stickers.
No, you're right. You're right. 100%.
And those are the good things coming out of it.
Yeah.
Like, we know that when push comes to shove, people can work together.
Yeah. It hits the fan. It's fine.
Yeah. When things are good, we can call each other Nazis there, but
I will honestly say, I'm not surprised of the response from Trudeau. I am not a Liberal. I'm much more a, like I said, social conservative, fiscal liberal. But I'm not surprised by his, like, I'm happy, and I'm happy that he is coming off very well. But I'm also happy how well, I'm surprised and very happy how well Ford is coming across.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems like he stepped up to the plate.
Even though I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that.
as a teacher union member?
That's nothing wrong with that. You agree that he came up, that he's doing, I would argue, a decent job.
I agree. And I think that, like, for all the comparisons that Doug Ford got to Trump, right? Like, he's acting nothing like Trump is right now. And that to me is a really nice sign. It's a nice sign that even somebody who's got a bit of a combative personality, like Trump has, he's able to sort of like put that aside and go like, all right, you know what, we can all acknowledge what's important in this situation, right?
So Andrew's currently in watching, but not.
Hey, there we go. We got to see. Hey, how you doing?
Nice jersey.
Yeah.
Yes, Timmins rock.
Yeah, man. There we go.
There you go.
That's my watch talking to me.
So we got a whole thing going on here now.
Yes,
panel.
We're hanging out with our significant others and children. Child. Our kids are outside of our quarantine.
They didn't make the team.
Even
No.
in the bunker.
Yes, we were in the bunker.
Yeah, when they were closing the gates, the kids were just too slow. And just They brought the trap door down. You're like, too bad you're on your own.
Sorry, you're stuck with the grandparents for 2 weeks.
They're so pumped to be there. Like, did I tell you this? I asked Finn in an email what he misses the most about being home, and his answer was his PlayStation. Like, thanks.
Yeah. He misses hockey though. Senior Rock jersey.
Oh yeah.
He was supposed to be one of the flag skaters on the ice for last week. Was it? Yeah, it was last week.
March break, yeah.
Yeah, during the March break, and super bummed out that the season got canceled. So it's kind of
would have been nuts, man.
Yeah.
Would have been
it was
nice
gonna be. It was gonna be a good playoff run too. They were poised to do well.
Well, yeah, they were looking really good. And yeah, it would have been fun. Would have been fun to go to those games, And unfortunately,
what you
things changed, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So what are you guys talking about? COVID or
what?
Is there anything else?
What? Yeah, like we just like lost the key to get out of our house, I guess. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
Anyways, so for those just tuning in, which I guess is not
Andrew.
anybody, we're not live right now. We're recording this. Last time we did this live, it didn't really work out that well. So for those of us who are just joining us, Mr. Andrew Autio is joining us on the podcast tonight. How you doing, Andrew?
Good, very good.
Good. You enjoying your isolation?
I'm in my bunker 60 feet underground, so it's...
You sure there's no virus there?
I hope not. Because I'm sealed in here tight. So...
right on.
Yeah.
Well, we're happy
just
to...
military rations, and that's it.
Yeah, this is what we got, man. It's we got to maximize Skype, It's technology. It's technology from 20 years ago already, but looks like we're finally using it now, putting it to good use.
Yeah,
I had to create an Outlook account just to use this. So
really?
Oh, you Microsoft your data. Careful, those globalists.
Yeah. Well, hey.
Somebody else is watching this, I'm sure.
Everyone's got the data, right? So.
Yeah.
People I have people laughing about I will never have an Alexa in my house or a Google Home in my house. Like, what are they gonna do? Listen to me squabble and yell at Paula for not buying the proper pizza pockets instead of the pizza pops? Like, who cares?
I feel the same way. Corey doesn't
Yeah,
like...
I feel a little bit differently on that. I'm not a big fan of having these things. I feel like they're gathering this information in order to press my buttons later on and control my mind. So no, thank you.
Yeah, he always talks about how his Facebook's, what is it called?
My newsfeed?
Your newsfeed gives you like things because they've heard, and all he keeps getting is this guy that is rating pizza.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, maybe they are listening to you.
But Corey, I know 40% of your diet is pizza.
That's right. Okay, Andrew, you must have seen this on Facebook. You know the guy who does the Barstool pizza reviews? Like, one bite, everybody knows the rules. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Have you been seeing what he's doing over this isolation? He's reviewing frozen pizzas.
Oh, and now he's doing frozen. Yeah, I know he's been doing pizza slice every day for the 2-3 years now. And but yeah, I haven't seen his frozen pizza stuff. I'm not a huge fan of Portnoy, to be honest.
No.
I thought a couple weeks ago his tone. I mean, whatever, he's hit or miss for me. But I mean, I know he's got to just put tons of videos out there every day. But a couple weeks ago, he was taking this thing way too lightly. Just, fuck that, man. I'm not gonna fucking isolate. No, I see you go to the bar. Everyone's fuck it. Whatever. Anyways, just very a little too chill with the whole thing. I didn't really care for his demeanor, but. That's what his thing is.
Well, he's American. It's not his fault.
Yeah, yeah. He's a masshole. So I mean, that's what they do in New England, and Anyways, but yeah, no, I haven't seen the frozen pizza. Is it interesting?
They're funny.
No, absolutely not.
I find he's a funny guy, but I like that. You bring up a good point though, in the sense of like how everybody's sort of come to this, taking this seriously. At different times, right? Like as this was sort of happening, right? Everybody's, I would say more or less all the people in my life right now are taking this pretty seriously. If you're not, like, I don't know where you're living, what rock you're living under right now. But everybody seems to be taking it seriously now, but that wasn't necessarily the case a week ago, right? Like everybody's sort of come to this a little bit differently. Like when did you find yourself getting serious about doing your social distancing?
Jeez, well, I guess it would have been because, like, again, the Timmins Rock, they had the one playoff game on. It was on the Wednesday, and then the next day, everything kind of basically shut down. So it was like the last thing that really happened. There was, almost 1,500 people at the Mac, and even before going in that night, I'm like, I mean, I wanted to go. Don't get me wrong, and I went obviously, but there was already kind of a weird kind of buzz kind of hanging over it. I was like, man, is this a good idea? There's going to be a ton of people there. You're going to have to, be in close contact with a lot of people. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was trying to take it, like lightly early on. I, at one point, had a tweet which did not age well because I said, at this point, I'm more concerned about the BO epidemic. So that was because I had recently had a bad experience. There was, I ran into a few people. There was a lot of BO going around at the time. And then, like, by the next, I mean, man, this thing, tweet did not age well. I got a couple likes, but it didn't age well, and then, So anyways, no, I mean, it was...
I'm not on Twitter. Can you delete tweets? Or is that there forever? Okay.
Yeah, you can delete them.
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure in the deep, dark web someone can find them. But, no, anyways, it was just basically... Yeah, I mean, I obviously been hearing about it, but as soon as it starts kind of infiltrating North America, that's when I think everyone obviously here really, took it seriously and knew that there was going to be some pretty serious changes going on to society here, and especially obviously when Trudeau got his diagnosis and he was going to be locked up. And, well, that's...
Our harrowing tale was I was telling Jay about it. Well, he knows about it now, but we're on 14-day lockdown right now because we were outside the country last week, and we took off, and there were starting to be rumblings about, like, okay, they're advising against traveling to Europe and China, and there were starting to be those, like, flight restrictions. we land, and the first announcement we hear is, global travel advisory, everybody come home. And we're in the Dominican, and it's not like you can just get in your car and drive home. And now everybody's rushing to get flights to get out, right? Because everybody's seeing where this is all going. The countries are starting to shut their borders down and it's declaring states of emergency. So we figure it out. We find the earliest flight that we can get on and get back here. And even there, the messaging's like when we get here, the messaging's a little bit odd, right? Because everything's moving so quickly. They're recommending that people isolate right away and they do what they can to avoid contact with other people. And then you could tell every day the messaging was getting a little bit more serious, right? Like, okay, no, now it's not an ask. You must. And now it's the law. You must or you face penalties and fines, right?
It should be any flight. It's just research.
Well, that's what it is now. That's what it is now. They're saying any interprovincial or like anybody nobody can get on a train anymore or anything like that. So
that's right.
I don't know.
We should be treating this like HPV. Just assume you have it.
Assume you have it. But overall, like Andrew, I'm interested in getting your perspective on this. Like, how are you feeling about like the people's reaction to this?
Well, you're probably seeing a little bit of the worst of humanity, obviously. Like, it was very disappointing that the hoarding stuff happened. Yeah. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have probably already talked about this earlier, but really disappointing to see, like, that's people's first reaction, right, is to just start hoarding. Like, and I don't know. There was no indication that it was going to cut all of our supply lines or anything like that, and especially the fact that the illness wasn't really gastro-related, so no need to, like, stock up on the TP that hard, like...
That was weird, that was the first place things would go.
Yeah.
I feel like canned goods would have been the first area.
Well, like beer, meat, like bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, toilet paper is
it's
funny.
Just, evident that you see something happen, your intelligence goes out the window and you just follow the masses.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And there's a bit of psychology with that too. I read a couple of articles about that, where even just we're so used to seeing all of the shelves full, and the second that there's a big section that's not full, it kind of piques everyone's curiosity.
Yeah.
Well, I better grab this, and like.
And then that creates the shortage. And then the fact that people go out and panic buy it, it ends up creating the shortage that didn't need to exist in the first place.
There is no shortage of toilet paper. It's in everybody's houses now. It just looks like there's a shortage of toilet paper because the shelves are
also,
bare.
I have a shower right next to my toilet. I can just bidet myself if I really have to.
That's pretty disgusting, Jay.
Hey,
spend 1 week
European.
in your house.
That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I said too. The people with bidets are laughing now.
Yeah.
Or a ton of beer and bullshit
t-shirts. That must be weird.
My wife's funny sometimes. She says, or anybody who's got a beer and bullshit t-shirt.
Or grain teasers.
Yeah.
Nobody has those yet.
But I find it interesting that you say that we're seeing the worst of humanity right now, because I think you can flip that around and say, we're seeing some of the best of people as well, right? Like we were just talking here, even from a government standpoint, which is obviously very ugly most of the time. Like people get very cynical about politics, and
sure.
And we were talking about how, at least from our perspective, it looks like our governments have been cooperating. Different levels of government have been cooperating very, very well, and setting politics aside, especially like between parties too. Seems like there's been a bit of a unified response here, and everybody seems to have the same priority, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and again, like I was talking to a few people about this the other day as well. Like it's been pretty solid across the board from all Canadian politicians about like taking it seriously. Like there wasn't much of the kind of flippant we got this under control kind of rhetoric you're hearing from the United States. But yeah, be it provincial, federal, locally, I think everyone, Canada was a little bit more ahead of the game on a few things. Obviously people have some different perspectives on that, obviously, but just no one took it lightly. Basically is the biggest thing. Like you say, Ford has been good. Trudeau doing the best he can under his quarantine, situation, and
had you talked to?
It's been good.
Had you talked to some of the rock players about this?
Did you? Well, yeah. So I also host a show on Eastlink called Home Ice. So it's a weekly show about the NOJHL, and we had to just kind of impromptu end the season, kind of with just kind of a wrap it up series. And I spoke to a couple of players, and it was they had no idea. Like that's what I asked them. Like, going into that game on the Wednesday night, like, did you guys have any idea there was kind of like an axe dangling above your heads or anything? And they said no. And it all just kind of blew up the next morning, basically. Like, and end of the season, and spoke with the league commissioner. The league commissioner was pretty rattled. Like he said it was the worst day of his career in this position to have to cancel the season like that. And it's really sad. And again, like,
because they're kind of a younger generation, like did they feel differently? Did they feel like this was kind of blown out of proportion?
No, I mean, I don't think I mean, obviously, like, they had to go down from such an emotional high, right? Like, you're in the playoffs, it was, against their biggest rivals and everything. So, I mean, they probably needed definitely a couple of days, probably a week, to really process it, let it sink in. And then, especially for, like you say, some of the 20-year-old guys, the guys who are aging out, that's such a cruel way to, like, end. And then it's not just them, it's obviously the CHL, the OHL, players too. And a lot of these communities, like, it's such an economic driver to have these hockey teams. There's trickle-down effects of that as well. And it's really disappointing. And like you say, it's only been a couple weeks without sports, and man, it's getting pretty grim, man. Like, it's just
I hadn't thought about that. Like, ticket sales must rely on that for
and it's all bonus, right? Basically, like, your playoff ticket gates, they're pretty good. And like I say, I think the president of the Rocky gave a pretty good interview to the Daily Press, and Yeah, he said, yeah, it's going to hurt us, obviously, in the pocketbook, because they get nice big crowds, too. So, I mean, 50-50s are bananas there. So, I mean, it's almost worth going to the games just for 50-50.
My 7-year-old
There's over $3,000.
He does his own 50-50s at home. He, like, practices.
Yeah,
like if more practice is going to help him win.
Rehearses the 50-50 draws.
I love that kid.
Oh,
God.
Awesome.
But
yeah, no,
I have a question.
Oh, do you?
So
Raise your hand, please.
Yes, Jason?
Thank you. So this is something I was actually discussing with the local transient, John Belanger, and our friend Lance Pollock. We were talking about do you see this issue maybe driving a new labor movement? So if you look now at essentially a bunch of people who get paid minimum wage or very low wages now being indicated as being essential service and having to work, whereas people like many of us can work from home, do whatever from home, get paid better than that, or whatever. Will this maybe be a new kind of push towards labor rules, maybe just unionizing, all that stuff? Because like, who's going to be protecting these delivery drivers, these grocery workers? Like, I know a lot of grocery stores do have unions already, but like, can you see this being a change?
And some of them have upped the wages to show appreciation, I think.
Yeah. But not all of them, and they're not required to do that.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just going to say real quick. Yeah, no, it is great to see, like you say, all of a sudden these, the so-called minimum wage workers, they're basically emerging as heroes throughout all of this, right? I mean, grocery store workers, man, they're putting themselves at risk every day when they go in, and people keeping, the fast food and whatever restaurants can stay open. And, yeah, like they deserve all the kudos, and probably a few more dollars an hour as well, too, I would think. And it's easier to pull off for a big corporation, especially like Loblaws, who I've actually worked for that company before, and they're cheap as cheap can be, man. They'll pay you as bare minimum and milk as many hours out of you as possible. So, I mean, it's good to see them, big companies, changing their tune a little bit. So
they should. Because, like, really, like, when you say essential service, we're now saying that these grocery store workers who, let's say, like, the guy who picks up all the carts gets paid minimum wage. We are now saying that they are as essential as a police officer in these times. So this is crazy. And just recently, we were having labor discussions with teacher unions, and some individuals were arguing that they should be essential services and be forced to work. And now they're either working from home or schools
realizing
canceled.
That we're not that important after all.
Not as important as.
But I think it's kind of a good wake-up call for us as a society to realize that everybody has a worth in here.
Yeah, their part to play, right? And I think that in the end, you're probably going to see the changes as far as earnings go if they start threatening to like withdraw their labor. Like in a situation like this, if the grocery store clerks decide to stay home, like people are royally fucked, right? So
this is time for them to do something they wanted.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't get much more essential than food, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, and I'm not anybody who listens to this. I'm not advocating for grocery store clerks to threaten to stay home there in this time and take advantage of this. But like,
we're just gonna get flagged for communism.
Corey always went on with the whole labor movement nonstop.
Yes, that's me. You know me too well, Jay. But no, I do think that we should remember this, right? Like when we come out of this, people should
absolutely
definitely remember this when it comes time to make decisions on policy for things like minimum wage and that. And just I don't know, like maybe this is, in the end, nobody would wish this on anybody, but maybe this is what we need to sort of recalibrate a little bit and figure out what's important, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's everyone's struggling to try and put some kind of positive spin on this.
Yeah.
There's starting to be, articles and whatnot put out. I mean, what are a few possible benefits or positives that can come out of this? I mean, we're going through all the stages, right? As a society.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there are
Especially you
things.
see different columnists and writers. I mean, what the hell else is there to talk about? You just gotta keep writing something, right? So I mean, I don't know.
Well, see, that's an interesting thing you bring up because I do want to know about, like, as far as media coverage on this front. And I don't know, as a member, I would say a more legitimate member of the media than we are. You might.
We are not part of media, thank you.
We are not media. You could maybe enlighten us on, like, because I think much has been made of the idea that a lot has been written on this because a lot has to be written about it, right? Like, we still need to be churning out articles, whether they be alarmist, whether they be sort of informative or just regurgitating the same information and that. Like, can you talk a little bit about, from what you know, as far as the forces that are at play here that make this nonstop coverage needed?
Why it's needed? Well, yeah, I mean, basically everyone's at home, so I mean, this is a huge boon, obviously, to the 24-hour news channels, especially. And I mean, what else is there really to talk about? Let's be honest. There's nothing. It's always something how it's being affected by the COVID situation, right? So, as far as like kind of, I know there's already starting to be a lot of fatigue, like you're saying. There's people who you see comments on Facebook or Twitter, whatever. This again, But I mean, like you say, anytime either like the feds or the province or even locally, they keep asking, hey, thank our media partners for sharing this information, whatever, putting it out there to as many people as possible, obviously. But that's kind of needed, and it's been such a rapidly changing situation, right? That you can only go with what your latest information is. Like you say, even the reporting of the local cases, right? It was one night they came out at like 10:46 at night, something like that, and it started, getting online at about 11, and then by the next morning they had another update, right? So it's like things, you can only put it out there as quickly as you can, and then anytime you get another update, you gotta just put that out there. So I mean, it's a rapidly changing thing, and something that looks good a couple of days ago is totally different today. So it's it is what it is, right? They say it's just everyone needs to be informed and stay up to date as best as possible. And nice to see the city of Timmins is going to daily video conference calls basically now, and there's just a few people in the room, and you've got Dr. Leanne Canton there, and the mayor, and whoever else needs to be there basically. But
okay, so the mayor the mayor is participating in this, because we were just talking about that. We were saying we're hearing a lot from the prime minister, a lot from the premier, but like is the mayor, because the mayor hasn't been very public facing in this in this sense.
I saw the former mayor's rant about it earlier.
Friend of the show,
which he then actually changed his tune. Well, it was ironic actually, because he put that out there, and then within an hour there had been a conference call, and he basically, they put it on YouTube, right, for them to share on their social media. So obviously one of the big problems is none of the actual media outlets can get in there, so they have to do it over a conference call. That's really the only way to do it. So the only visuals you're going to see are from the city hall communications person, and I don't know. It's maybe not obviously the current mayor's forte, really, social media, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. That's why you have people around you to kind of help you out with that. But I mean, it's such an unprecedented situation. Obviously, I know there's been some criticism, but I think there is improvements being made. They're going to do it, I think, around 1:00 every day. Basically, some kind of video conference. Well, it's basically a conference call that someone's recording, and then they put it up online. Yeah. So that's basically.
Well, I thought she spoke really well, the Porcupine Health Unit.
Dr. Leanne Canton,
yeah.
I think the health unit's been doing a heck of a job on this front, and I think from like we're basically just talking about this, that the from a local government perspective, you haven't heard a lot, but that maybe that's intentional, right? It's very possible that if what you're hearing from the upper levels of government is a certain message, and then you hear a different tone struck at the local level where maybe there's not a lot that can necessarily even be said, right? That
Right.
you don't want to confuse people. You want to have that consistent messaging. So maybe that's intentional. I don't know.
Or maybe you're playing it safe.
Yeah, maybe. Like I don't know. I don't think most people are playing politics with all of this. I think I think at this point most people are really focused on just public health and public safety, right? So it's sort of making decisions on that basis. Like, is it better for George Perry to be out there and making announcements and talking about cases when the Porcupine Health Unit is already doing that? You're getting those first-hand accounts from the health unit. I mean, if anything, and this might just be like kind of nitpicking, I feel like I would like to hear that unifying message from a city standpoint. You know what? Very impressed with how with how our residents are doing, are taking to social distancing, being responsible citizens. Everybody's working on this. You know, we need to continue with these efforts, and just that kind of like messaging, right? That I feel like that might be a nice thing to hear. But other than that, it's been good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Would you prefer to have him doing 3 or 4, short videos every day, basically just him talking to us? I don't know how good that would do. Obviously, in a situation like this, you obviously want to defer most of the actual meat and potatoes, let's just say, to the medical professionals.
You're right.
Obviously, it's Dr. Catton right now, because the mayor can, basically just kind of, like I say, introduce things. But once there's actual medical questions, you got to hand it over to the experts, right? And furthermore to that, I mean, I think there is, there's lots of, everyone's trying to wrap their heads around this whole thing, obviously. But I think some people confuse powers that different levels of governments have sometimes. Like, some people think, George has or the mayor in general, I guess, they decide what the essential services are, but really they have nothing to do with that. It's that basically comes from your province, right? So I mean, yeah. So I mean, anyways, there's only so much that a municipal government can do, I suppose. But
yeah. No, that makes sense, and I think like we've. I don't know. Maybe it's not the time to be nitpicking on that kind of stuff. It's more just kind of observational, right? Like, I think overall everybody's doing the absolute best that they can, and everybody's doing a really good job. Even just people in general. Like, from what I've seen, anyways, people seem to be taking this very seriously. Seem to be doing what they have to do. I was seeing maybe like couple weeks back a little bit more of this, like, whoa, what is this? There's just a flu, blah blah blah. It's not a big deal, and all of that seems to have gone completely by the wayside. People have listened to the expert opinions, and we seem to defer to authority a little bit better than maybe our American counterparts.
I'm pretty sure these are nano technology being inserted into us and being turned on by 5G networks. So I'm just saying, you sheeple keep believing what you want.
Yes, we're just following the herd.
Read about so far.
Have you liked the uptick in conspiracy theory, Andrew?
Yeah, that's always a lot of fun, right? I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just,
It's almost exhausting.
It's what?
It's exhausting just seeing more. Like, every time something happens, you'll see something about a globalist and George Soros, and it's Bill
it's Hillary's fault.
The Gates.
That's the latest one I heard, is that the Clintons started this.
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, Donald Trump Jr. Facebook page. Basically it just turned into a bash Hillary thing. And because they got so triggered by a tweet that Hillary Clinton set out the other day, where because Trump has. He's taken this pretty lightly up until maybe just a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
I want to see the churches packed on Easter and blah, blah, blah. And then a journalist asks, so why? What are you picking that to? I decided to be a nice occasion. It's just like, man, you can't be pumping out that kind of, just. The guy makes me puke, basically. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. What was the train of thought we were last
I don't
time?
know.
We kinda got
The
to?
conspiracy theories.
Jason's train of thought.
Yeah, the conspiracy theories, sure.
Just,
Yeah. No, well, just anyways, Hillary said basically just, please do not take medical advice from someone who stares directly into a solar eclipse.
Yeah.
And then that just stirred the pot.
You think she's poising to make a late entry into the Democratic primaries?
No.
No.
I think
No.
she's such an unlikely.
She'd have to do a lot of groundwork.
Yeah.
Oh, she just released that Netflix documentary. That's a very, very, how can I say? It paints her in a very, very good light. And I don't know, she's becoming more public, so I wouldn't count it out.
You heard it here
I
first.
think she's too. You're right, Andrew. Too late in the game. Too much groundwork, and I think she was obviously was such a unlike candidate that she lost to Trump with all his flaws. I think that is.
You don't think she can recover?
No.
No.
It's tough that it's going to be a bunch of 70-year-olds who are competing for it now, but it is what it is.
Yeah. What do you make of Joe Biden lately?
I think people are jumping on saying he's too he's 70 years old, and his flubs,
72?
his flubs are just as bad as Trump not being able to speak any word possible. So, I think they're on the same par.
Yeah. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't been stoked really on any of the major candidates. Really, they all had kind of good little different bits and pieces of them, but I don't know.
What about Bernie?
Bernie, feel the burn, right? I mean, Biden seems to be the guy that's going to take the nomination because I guess riding that Obama wave, all you can just say is, well, I was with Obama,
Yeah,
so
I was the VP, right? So it's
yeah, like there's nothing about Biden that really kind of motivates you. He's got none of that same kind of charm, like he's.
Well, do you think that something like this, the whole COVID situation, that depending on how this ends up playing out, which nobody really knows how it's going to play out, right? But if this somehow ends up looking favorably on somebody like Trump, I don't know. I don't see how Biden beats him.
But I don't know how Trump can make this look good, though. He's already so far behind.
The U.S. is leading the world in cases now, and we all knew. I predicted that like a week or two ago.
Best numbers.
Yeah.
Best numbers.
Perfect.
Okay, but tomorrow something completely unaffiliated with Trump happens. There ends up being a reliable treatment or vaccine developed in enough time that minimizes the impact on the U.S. And because they didn't take this seriously, the economy's stronger than the rest of the world.
But it's the worst right now. It's taken the biggest hit so far.
Well, of course, because it's the largest. But what I'm saying is that if it ends up minimally impacting, and then he comes out and is able to claim victory over the virus, because he will.
She's right.
What's that?
He'll claim victory regardless of
good point.
The outcome.
Yeah.
Even if it's they have the most deaths, let's say,
Which they do.
Or if there's a vaccine that comes about, he's going to claim victory regardless of the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right about that. And
or declare war on somebody else to make him look good.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how this plays out in the end, but do you think that regardless of the situation that Joe Biden has anything that he can other than I guess the Obama thing, do you think people if Obama was running for president again, would people vote for him again?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah. But
that would be an entertaining debate to see Obama and Trump go in a debate.
Oh.
I mean, that'd be fun.
Because Obama can handle Trump.
Oh
in
yeah.
a debate.
Especially in the talking department, he's not going to pull a fast one on him.
Do you think Biden can?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It should be entertaining, but I mean, he's gonna have to be locked in. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's been looking pretty lost lately.
But
It is scary.
Yeah.
COVID is a political opportunity for someone to shine, and I'm surprised that no one's really latched onto it, especially Biden, because Trump has obviously dropped the ball. And if Biden would at least...
What could he do?
And that's the thing. That's the hard part. But it's such a, obviously, like a hot topic that if someone latched onto it well enough, like they could definitely use it politically.
Well,
but
you see Trump trying to do it. You see Trump trying to do it by trying to divert this to make it a China thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Chinese virus.
The Kung flu was the one that that made me go, oh my god.
Yeah, that's
Terrible.
rough.
No, it's been an interesting few weeks. I don't know. The next few weeks.
Well, obviously, yeah, it's going to play a factor. We don't know where this is going to go or how many months it's going to go on, but I mean, obviously that'll be talked about, and who knows if this is going to push everything back anyways. Like, everything's up in the air now, basically. So, I mean, I don't know.
If you had to speculate, how long do you think we're going to be staying in our homes?
Well, you know, if what is said that it kind of doesn't like warmer temperatures, then, you know, maybe another couple of months, hopefully. I don't know. Like, who knows? Hopefully the numbers start flattening out. We start flattening the curve, obviously, but even here, like locally and probably virtually in Canada, it's probably going to get, unfortunately, a little bit worse before it gets better. Just because everyone's coming back now, and we're going to start to see those other kind of, you know, cases kind of developing. I'm sure here, just as we start to test more people, right? So I don't know. I think the numbers are definitely going to go up, but hopefully, we can keep it under control. And a couple of months, I don't know. Hopefully, a couple of months we can be back to somewhat functioning society here. Be nice.
Yeah, I think we're all expecting that it's going to get worse before it gets better, right? Like, and if we're successful in actually like flattening that curve, it would tell you that like all we're doing is we're trying to prolong this, right? So if we're prolonging it, then that means that we're going to be doing this for longer if we're successful at doing what we're trying to do. So I don't know. I don't see like an end to it. People are definitely talking in terms of months rather than weeks, right? So that seems to be, I don't know if years is the way to look at it. That seems a little bit crazy to me, but because there seems to be some element, or with most viruses like this, there's an element of seasonality, like you were talking about, like the flu goes away, or doesn't go away, but it sort of recedes in warmer temperatures and that. So I don't know. We'll see where she goes, right?
Been some interesting footage from around the world as far as, you know, cracking down on, you know, people in public and whatnot. I don't know if you've seen any footage coming out of India where there's literally just police like just beating the shit out of people like on the streets. They're just kind of on their motorcycle going by and like they're just whipping the shit out of people.
People who
it's
won't
great. It's
stay home.
It's good watching. Oh yeah. One guy's trying to kickstart his thing, you know, but he's getting beaten senseless by this kind of like, it's like a bamboo bat, so it's got some snap to it too, you know. Yeah.
My thought is, are we lucky that the original epicenter was in China, which have a super authoritarian regime, speaking like Trump, who was able to literally like throw in an army and shut down any city, regardless how big the city was, compared to being if the original epicenter was in New Delhi or somewhere in India, which, yeah, you know, they have a government, but it is nowhere near as authoritarian as China and would not be able to crack down like China could. Like, were we somewhat blessed that it started in China and not in India or another larger country like that?
Well, I'd be careful about using the word blessed, but
not blessed, lucky,
fortunate. Yeah, I think that does make some sense, but you know, those people pay a price for that, right? Like it's true that they were able to get on top of it, but Do you want to
Yeah.
see scenes
Well-
of police officers welding doors, like apartment building doors shut? Probably
Well,
not.
and that's the thing. Obviously, as North Americans, we're not used to that stuff. So obviously, there's been a lot of discussions. I heard, on CBC radio, a couple of days ago, where they were talking about why it worked so well in places like Taiwan and South Korea. Is that people actually listen to their governments over there? Like it's just a different mindset that some countries have. Versus if our politicians come on the TV and tell us they do, okay, I'll do it maybe. Like it's like we don't obey as much because we got so much freedom, and with that comes a lot of I don't know, just kind of casualness, I guess, about the whole situation. So there's always there's still people probably locally going around. They don't give a shit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Imagine if if they were trying to do that shit in Texas, trying to shut down and tell people they can't do whatever they want in Texas or whatever, or in Florida.
Well, they
Jesus
are.
Christ. I know, but you think about the government's going to tell me what to do. How many libertarians and sovereign citizens are
militia?
Yeah,
backwoods militia.
But you could say, and I mean, the president isn't really helping a lot on that front, but you could say that that's probably contributing to the reason why they're seeing an uptick in cases, is that people just don't they have a cynicism about their government. And you say that we have a cynicism about our government, but we've been way better than the U.S. about deferring to authority, right? There's a certain healthy respect for people who don't who know more than you do about a certain topic. This whole idea of do your own research, check this out, this isn't they're not telling you everything and all. Although I respect the spirit of skepticism and all that, I get it, and I think we should have a bit of an independent mind, and you should think for yourself and that. But you should also know when you don't know things, right? You should be able to respect the opinion of somebody who has spent their entire lives acquiring the knowledge and the qualifications to formulate opinions on this. And it's not just our politicians that are out speaking on this. We have our public health officials who are highly qualified people to talk about this kind of stuff, that are coming out and telling you this is serious, take it seriously, do this, And for anybody who's looking at that and going oh no, these people are corrupt and they're just telling us lies, and do your own research. That's my favorite one.
Well, and unfortunately, probably for a lot of people, until it hits close to home, it's not real until your aunt or your grandma or your sister or whatever, somebody gets it, and then it's oh wow, okay, so this thing's real, right? Some people need that kind of smack upside the head, basically, to kind of take things seriously. If it doesn't, and that's why we kind of, especially Timmins here, we're kind of, it takes a while for things to trickle up here, right? So, I mean, people are still kind of pretty casual about it last week, and now streets are pretty quiet today, just a few people going around, but I mean, it was, actually, I just saw saw a lot of, seniors and older folks just kind of out for walks because it was a nice and sunny day, but
yeah,
that was kind of nice. But, no, like I say, until someone has the situation, then maybe, you're going to be a little bit skeptical. It's unfortunate, but
yeah, it's too bad. And with something like this, it's almost you can sort of understand where somebody has those skeptical attitudes, because it's this stuff is happening halfway across the world, but it doesn't take long to show up here. And especially anybody who is sort of paying attention to it, realizing okay, this is, it can be spread while you're asymptomatic. It can be there's a lot of things that make this tough to deal with. So if you're just ignoring it, you're or if you're going by what's happening around you, you might not be seeing the whole picture, right?
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Hopefully people stay in their homes. Anybody who's listening.
When you say it's happening halfway across the world, are you saying that the other half is not happening, or just?
That's exactly it. Yes.
Okay,
That's
sorry.
that's exactly what I was saying.
I don't know how it works. It's like when people say that person, was a drug addict and then did a complete 360. Wouldn't that mean they became a drug addict again and kept going? So it should be always a 180. But anyway, sorry.
They spun their life around. They didn't turn their life around. They spun it around.
Spun it and got right back to where you're going.
So that said, we've been going for about 2 hours now. Yeah. Andrew, I know you sort of joined us a little bit late here tonight, but we appreciate you joining us. Do you have?
Oh, yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to sort of talk about while we got you on the podcast here tonight?
I don't know. What's everyone been doing mostly to pass time? I mean, I don't know what's been taking up the bulk of your time, or what you've been drinking. I want to give a shout out to obviously Full Beard for
Yes.
I got a home delivery the other day. They're doing home delivery, which is nice. John St. Pierre himself came by and dropped off my beer, and really cool to see all the local businesses doing whatever they can to stay obviously somewhat afloat, keep feeding and quenching the thirst of people all around. Yeah, no, it's a crazy time for everyone, obviously, but so it's just nice to see the different businesses stepping up and whatnot to to keep us fed and hydrated.
Yeah, everybody's doing a really, really good job, and we probably said it like 4 or 5 times already on the podcast tonight, but again, more formally, thank you very much to all our local businesses, all the frontline workers, people working at the grocery stores, people working in the hospitals, any their public health officials, anybody who's still giving her, anybody who's working directly with this situation right now. I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody else who's on the podcast, but I want to say thank you very much, and we really appreciate it. So
Who's going to disagree with that?
I don't know.
Yeah. Nah.
Somebody's going like, I got a difference of opinion on that one.
But actually, Andrew, you were saying, what do we do to keep busy? What have you been doing to keep busy?
Well, see, for me, obviously, I'm fortunate I can work from home. It's even in my line of work, obviously, right now, it's very tough because a lot of corporate and company offices are closed, right? So even let's say their company lines or whatever, they're not in function, right? They're just going to voicemail and filling up their voicemail boxes. So, I mean, yeah, it's crazy for everything. But, I mean, yeah, I'm able to work from home, which is good. Also, that big giant dump of snow we got last week was brutal, first of all.
3 days of work right there.
Yeah, just shoveling. I had to take some snow off the garage roof, or it was fall in. And anyways, so yeah, the weather's been nice, which is nice. So it is. You can go outside and get some vitamin D, which is nice. But I don't know, just keeping in contact with the people and drinking some beer, and try not to get started too early in the days. It's. Yeah. Got to resist the urge to day drink, right? I mean, that's
your days can go south pretty quick if you're day drinking too hard. But as far as us, I don't know. We've been locked down pretty hard, but we're taking this opportunity to clean our house. We're cleaning every room that has not been cleaned. So
no one's gonna believe it's never been this clean, but we can't have guests, so they'll never know.
True. And then we
gotta ask yourself, what are some of those tasks you've been putting off? Because I just don't have time. But find some time for some menial tasks, and and like I say, it's been interesting hearing different people's perspectives on tips of how to keep your kind of sanity, and there's all kinds of stuff like resist the urge to wear pajamas all day. Get up and put on whatever you'd normally wear for the day, whatever, and get up at a similar time, and at least keep to a somewhat normal routine, I guess, is good for your overall health, I guess. But
it's good for your mental health, but it's also good for your your physical health too, right? You maintain those routines, you're keeping yourself kind of in that same rhythm, trying to go to get prioritizing sleep and all those kinds of things. We sometimes we don't really think about it until, like you say, it's real to you. But maintaining your physical health should be a highlight right now. You know, making sure that you're staying.
I did a 5K 2 weeks ago.
Oh, look at you! That's very good, Jay.
When there was no quarantine, nothing, you could have went anywhere.
Yeah, I spent 2 hours on the treadmill today, so that was
He's been waiting 2
crappy.
hours to put that plug in.
That's right. Just showing off.
6.5 minutes a kilometer, brutal pace, son, on an indoor. Ugh.
Yeah, treadmills aren't accurate, so yeah.
Should do a fake Peloton ad.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, a super tone deaf Peloton ad.
Well, and very very sexist against men. Maybe do that one. You know.
Yeah. Like my wife.
Maybe your wife can
me a
berate
treadmill
you while you're on the thing. You know.
So, oh, sorry, honey. You should probably get better in shape, you fat fuck, and just walk away. Slap the beer out your hand.
It's not really in her character. She's a very.
I would
nice
never
person.
speak that way to Corey.
As you shouldn't, as a good wife.
It's been interesting seeing all like the talk show hosts, late night talk shows, trying to like doing their whatever kind of shows they can from home. You know, basically just like this. And Seth Meyers has kind of stepped up his game. He's still got the graphics going on and everything, but yeah.
Well,
I don't know, man.
He's like hats off to YouTubers who have shown that I have no idea what I'm doing. Good job.
You know, first of all, I just want to point out, Andrew, I really appreciate the fact that you said just like this about our show being on par with the late night comedy shows. That's
it's
that's
Skype.
really appreciative.
It's Skype. You know, you got that charming lag of Skype and the grittiness, and it's just it's raw, man. It's it's like you're a panelist in a friggin' war zone. You know, it's just
That's right.
You're like,
there's that delay, that drag, you know. And,
Oh man, I really don't know, and to be honest, I don't know how this whole podcast is going to end up. There was a whole bunch of technical issues at the beginning of this, and then in the middle we switched from FaceTime to Skype, so there's going to be like 8 different video files for me to sort of piece all together once this goes out. Would have been.
Well, you don't have a lack of time to figure it out, Corey.
That's a fair point. So I'll probably try to do that. I don't know, when should we release this? Like, hopefully there's not any huge developments. I'll try to get it out like Monday or something.
Yeah, we should try and get a couple days, try to do it. And I
hope that
would
Hillary announces her candidacy before you
that'd be great.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton's not gonna run for president. It'll never happen. Anyways,
Pizzagate.
We'll be eating crow in like a week from now. Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Nice.
Eating good old rice.
So on that note, I did say we were going to try to keep this one to an hour, and definitely did not do that. So anyways, Andrew, do you want to tell us what you're up to during this quarantine and where people can find you, follow you, and
Yeah, all right. So, so I'm writing for the Timmins Daily Press now. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Autio. Basically post everything there, and just keep washing your hands, man. Keep them clean, scrubbing good.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
And we'll have to do this in a week from now again. Maybe we'll come back in, check in for another quarantine podcast.
Yeah,
and
man.
Jason, you want to tell everybody what's up with your grain teasers and what got kiboshed as far as your trivia nights?
Anyways, we got more of these delightful beer and bullshit hats.
Oh, where can people find those?
So if anyone is looking into picking up some stuff, or actually looking for a great swag provider, I can get you
Are those
connected.
made in China?
No, actually, no. This is Windsor base, and got a Main Event Designs. I hope I getting the name right, dear Lord. It's my friend's company. Anyways, I can always get you hooked up with some guys out down in the Windsor area. And then also got some grain teaser T-shirts, but grain teas right now. Obviously, we have to get got put on pause for a bit. Oh, the cats are in the screen. I got pause for a bit. Hopefully, we'll be back soon. We're hoping our dates are always the third Wednesday of the month. So who knows when that will happen at Full Beard when Full Beard opens back up to the public. But yeah, good time. Call, reserve tables. It's a good time. Corey's been there a couple times. I'm not sure Sophie's been there or not.
No.
Were you there, Frankie? No? Well, thanks.
No.
Well,
Thanks
somebody's
for
got to stay
support.
home with
It's
the
not my
kids.
jam.
But no, so just that. I'm actually, and Sophie actually brought something up. Maybe try to do an online little version to kind of have some fun. So maybe I'll be looking at doing something like that shortly. And I was honestly thinking about that like hours before. So that might be a good, a fun little fill the time. Little
Basically,
trip.
like HQ trivia without
Oh,
all the
it's
horrible
HQ. I was thinking about that.
Was what it was. Oh my god.
Talking about
Thank
before
you.
lunch.
That was so hot, and then it just fizzled out. I got so
like
tired
2
of it, like
weeks.
the lags.
Yeah.
But
We were trying to figure out what the name of that trivia was, and then none of us could figure it out. That's awesome. Thank you very much for doing that. That was frustrating. So yes, everybody keep an eye out for that when things get back to normal. There's going to be some really, really hot and busy trivia nights. So also our other guests, Soph and Paula, do you guys want to give away some social media? You want people to follow you? Or
Absolutely not. I'm
Actually,
using
probably.
this time
you
to
go,
unfollow
Sophie.
people that I feel like when things like this happen, this is the good time to be like, oh yes, like this is enough of the comments you are making. I'm gonna clean some stuff up. But,
Facebook cleanup, folks.
yeah.
Yeah. I've been deleted off Sophie's Facebook years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
I keep getting those notifications. Jason Boissonneault commented on this post, and it's just some snarky ass stuff like about like arguing with people on the internet. They're terrible, Jay.
Favorite pastime.
To be fair, I do respond to Andrew's stuff often on his stuff, and kind of pretend like I'm arguing against him, but to prove his point, and it's always kind of fun.
Yeah, Jay's tongue in cheek on online people. So,
But Paul had something.
Oh, first getting on you following or commenting on social media is like your favorite pastime.
I thought you were going to say something more.
Takes up way too much of his time, but secondly is following probably Timmins Women's Soccer Club on Facebook to keep up to date on whether our season is happening.
yeah, see, that's a smart move. All right. So we have 12 people that will hear that announcement now. So that's very, very good.
And one of them's a woman.
All right. Well, thanks a lot to everybody. Thank you guys for joining us on the Skype line. Really appreciate it. And we'll do this again sometime. All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.